Thank you, ma'am. I'd like to welcome everyone to this City of Jacksonville Council work session this day, January 23rd of 2023. I'll call this meeting to order and roll call, please.
Mr. Taylor?
Here.
Here. Mr. Wilson?
Here.
Mr. Baxter? Here. Mr. Galloway?
Here. All right. Item 3 is the acceptance of the minutes. Any questions, comments, additions, deletions to those? Hearing nothing. Thank you, Brenda. Item 4 is bid number 23-04, the purchase and delivery of the ADA mobile restroom trailers. Mark Stevens.
Did y'all get a copy of this out?
It's sent out. None.
All right. I evaluated all the bids last week to see, I guess, a couple of things. First and foremost, the low bid, and to make sure that each bid met what our specifications were. So went through, I know we had a range in price from $54,401 to $96,560. Well, after I went through and compared, and the one that was the lowest bidder that best met our criteria was J&B Lux Labs for $82,453. And Ms. Burt, our budget number was in the upper 80s. Is that correct? Okay. So we're actually under the budget that we had set up.
With the discrepancies we had, I discussed this earlier on, that from that wide range of nearly $40,000 difference between low and high bid. And you said this one most meets our requirements. Is there something that's glaringly absent, or is it just
Not really. I mean, the bid spec, the package, we gave them the bullet points that they were supposed to hit on. Some of them you couldn't tell if that was included or not. So, if I couldn't find it listed somewhere, I just had to assume that it wasn't included.
Okay.
Because the next bid you look at, it would have shown to be included. But that is the product that they would be supplying. And you can see how it's actually sitting on the ground right there. It's got a hydraulic system that will lift it up off the ground when you need to move it. Ms. Carter, go click on the next one. There's the ADA ramp. That's the ADA restroom on the rear of the trailer. Go to the next one, please. And then you can see the two doors up towards the front. That's a men's room and a ladies' room, and then the ADA is unisex. That is the men's room. So, once you drop it down on the ground, you still have to go up some steps to get to it.
They're running plumbing and underneath this. Yeah.
There's a freshwater tank and the gray water tank is underneath. And then that's getting up into the women's room right there.
Is it have to be loaded only off the trailer, or how mobile is this mobile?
You just got a trailer that you hook it up to.
Okay, it does have a okay.
Yes.
Who's going to keep this thing clean?
We draw straws.
You have.
One person has January, the next one has February.
Now, one thing that was unique about this one too, it not only allows it to be self-contained, but you can also hard pipe it to city surfaces. So, if we wanted to leave it sometime for an extended period of time, and there is water and sewer available, it can be hard piped into it.
But then that could also be removed in transit.
That is correct.
And there's one commode for each.
Yes, the ADA restroom has a commode and an ADA sink. The men's room has a toilet and a urinal and a sink, and the women's room has a toilet and a sink.
What about baby changing?
That's what I was going to ask.
But after that's something I think we could probably install after the fact.
I think
that was not an option that we listed.
In any of them? I mean, okay.
Where is the square foot in both of the restrooms? Not the unisex. What is the square footage inside the window? couldn't remember if it's on there or not.
But that trailer, I think, is 7 feet wide and 20 feet long. Just the box.
That'd be 20 by 2, 40 inches.
And then I think the interior height is 84 inches.
That's just the floor length.
Floor length.
40 inches. Or, well, no, that's floor. That's, yeah, 20 foot is 240 inches.
I know Richard has sent a letter, I guess today, in regard to, in the documents from this company, there's also some letterhead from a company called Blacktop Products. Now, let me tell you what I did today. I actually made an anonymous phone call to JMB Lux Labs. I told them I was interested in trailer and I was wondering about their warranty. And he immediately told me that they are not the manufacturer, they're just a seller. Blacktop Products is the actual manufacturer. So the warranty is through Blacktop. And he said, he used the term, he said it's basically a 3-year bumper to bumper, except for certain items, there would be a manufacturer's warranty. He said that they've got one trailer, he just used this as an example, that has a radio in it. He said if that radio tore up, it wouldn't be Blacktop, they would go to the manufacturer of the radio. But he said, we hold your hand through that process. He said, we assist y'all in going to the manufacturer. But he said everything else, like just the trailer itself, it's Blacktop Products that provides the 3-year warranty. But like I said, based on me going through the bids, that is the apparent low bidder that best fits our specified criteria.
How much will we use it? I know Eastwood School would be good, like for springtime, ball practice and all that good stuff, but
Straight on the mountain.
straight on the mountain.
We got fair on the square.
What, third Friday?
Third Friday.
Farmers market.
Farmers, yeah.
That one.
Yeah, I got some ideas that people may not like about farmers market. That's moving on.
I think Cody brings up a point, and I'm sure that Mrs. Grant or the mayor can figure out assigning where that falls from the cleaning purview or intended.
It's an issue.
But it is something that I think
It's expensive.
We talked about the fact too, they might want some signage on the trailers.
I figured it could be wrapped or it could be.
Oh, definitely city logo on there.
Logo maybe.
I would think based on where it's located, it might dictate what you put on it. You might want it to blend in with the natural environment.
You think what you got, Johnny L. Smith?
Yeah. That's
Your
appropriate.
name was something. Your name was something.
What will we give $54,000?
Yeah, to Johnny.
He said anywhere between 54 and 96. What's the difference of 82 and 54 besides some of the box checks?
Yeah, what was the 54?
I'm sorry, I shouldn't have brought that up.
The level, the weight level, and stuff like that.
So
It was a bare bone bid from what I said.
Like I said, we had specific criteria that you had to have, like a men's and women's toilet and an 88 toilet. Some of these, I couldn't figure out if the toilet was even included. I mean, you would assume that it would be, but there was nothing written that said the toilet was included.
One of them that could do a smaller tank also.
Smaller.
Well, I appreciate that. You don't want to assume if it's not in writing that it's included. You would think common sense, yes, that the toilet would have been included. But
BYOT.
And aren't we about $6,000 under what we had appropriated or earmarked for this? 87?
So if there is a cost to maybe look at maybe changing station, for
I think that's got to be a must.
That's why I was wondering about the size of the rooms, and I couldn't find it on that either.
I'm guessing that it would probably wind up having to be in that PDA portion. Which would make sense because it is that way the daddy or the mother could take the child in there.
change many diapers and many rooms without changing station. But then also in that, if it's under that, looking at wrapping it or putting something that's not right, wide length.
Here's John.
Yeah.
So would there be a charge for somebody, like we would contract out a cleaning service, or is it, how would you do this?
I would hope it would go in the card, and the card would be responsible.
Well, since Jan's sitting here, yes.
I was looking for a while ago.
Mayor, let me ask this question. If it's in the portable situation and the gray water tank needs to be emptied, can the utility department use their vacuum truck?
And charge.
Although the other alternative would be to hire one of these companies.
Somebody said at one time that all the hookups would match and had the capabilities of doing that through.
I would think so. No, we should probably make it work.
I mean, all hookups are universal.
I would assume.
I've ran into stuff like that before, and it's just not.
You need an adapter for some.
When it comes to plumbing, there's many different applications to that.
But if this is looking to be, it is movable, but more permanent to the square area than anywhere else, the likelihood of having that plumbed out to the existing sewer and existing water, so you don't have to have it, the gray water pumped and the clean water replenished. And then if you are moving it, you do have that option.
And I don't know if I'd want it to stay stationary long anywhere. I mean, that kind of defeats the purpose.
It's going to be there. But
special event facilities it wouldn't be the special event facilities if we just leave it stationary all the time. And there are needs. We do have needs.
Mark can probably talk about this better than I can, but it looks like just reading about the thing is really pretty easy to hook up. It looks like you can look at the sewer system pretty quick.
if you do that, that's what I think would be. So then you're not having. I mean, if it were to be for a month in one spot, how much water you'd be going through.
Right.
But based on use,
it will require electrical. If it is portable, we're probably going to have a generator to go with it. If we're not close to the source.
If you buy two, you get 150% off.
Now,
What about the reviews on this company?
to be honest, I didn't even look at, Brenda, did you have to look at any reviews for this company?
The issue is we're under a time crunch, are we not?
Yes.
It has to be decided tonight, with the holidays and all these things that have happened since the bid, we're at the end of our 45 days.
I'm just a week with my wife in the hospital, so.
No, that's
why I was doing last week.
it was supposed to be.
heating and cooled was one of the criteria.
It is, and then there's 3 seasons, is what they call it.
Well, we know we wanted one, so I mean, if we're gonna get one, this is the best all around, and we need to do it. How much is it gonna cost us for a generator? $7,000?
15.
15,000.
Well, it depends on what it requires.
Yeah.
Probably $1,000, $1,500.
So we're still under what we budgeted.
We did one of the nice quiet ones. I mean, we need to follow the same rules and regs that we make food trucks follow when it comes to noise compliance.
So I think,
Anything else? Spirit on Mountain. There's not any laboratory out there.
That's one person who I thought of. Wow, anything around the square.
And then all of the square events, there's no public restroom.
Well, that's been a
Businesses
complaint.
have opened up
Yeah.
their own, their business restaurant.
Yes, well, yeah.
I was concerned about when you moved it to a different location, being able to get the handicap part accessible because of the lay of the land. It's really kind of neat the way they have that designed. It will move, that first part of that will move with the lay of the land.
Yeah, you need to park it at a level of the spot as you can find. And then the handicap ramp actually articulates. It's got the straight out of the door, that has to be level. And it's got the ramp, and there'll be a maximum, the ramp portion, there'll be a maximum slope that that ramp can be at.
When's the delivery time? I mean, we're going into the busy time of the year. That to me, that'd be one question, is how soon can we get it?
Well, I know they call,
They've been emailing.
wondering.
We didn't ask for a time.
I think it's going to be very practical, something we really need. And putting it off and not getting it tonight is going to push it all the way down the road, and then for sure we won't have it going into all the activities we got coming.
Am I wrong in thinking every park that's designated park has a bathroom facility above the square? I mean, Eastwood is out, we're talking about that.
Well, even now Henry Farms, in my opinion, does not have a designated. There is restrooms there, but you have to ask for those to be open down at the office. Right. So the pavilions, there are not.
Yeah. So
there's no hookups. It's on the agenda. We good with moving forward with it? Thank you, Mark.
I'm in.
Thank you, Brenda. Thank you. All right, item 5 is the City of Jacksonville Scholarship Program. Ms. Burke.
And we just had some very minor changes to what was approved before. And both I know Marita and Sherry was involved with these minor changes. I think the first one we set up is City of Jacksonville First Generation Scholarship. And really the only thing they did in that one was eligibility. They took out just civic leadership qualities. They took that out of the first generation and just went strictly with community service. Also on that one, they took out one line that says, explain how you have demonstrated leadership. Again, not appropriate for this particular scholarship, so they took it out. And then on all of these scholarships, we added one line in here, or one little paragraph that really tells the student that they need to make contact with us before they go off to school, because we've got to present ID number and information to the school's date of birth. So they know that they have to contact city administrators so that we can get that information and send the scholarship monies to the various schools. I think there was no change on the first responder scholarship, just that the need to contact the city administrator. On the healthcare, same thing, that was the only change. Leadership scholarship, the only thing candidate made city, small veterans city council. And then the last thing they wanted on the technical training scholarship, it also had exhibit leadership qualities. They took out leadership and just involvement in community and extracurriculars. And then they also, this one had this line on there, explain how you demonstrated leadership. They took that out as well. So minor changes to all of them. That's what you all need to reapprove. That one paragraph to add as well. And as soon as it gets reapproved, then I'm sure the desire is to get it in the school so they can begin. Process is always the 31st of March. They have a process for 2 months. It's submitted.
It is on the agenda for tonight, so thanks.
Well, it works. Maybe even for our first year, it worked, and kids got some help, and Sherry did a great job.
We took a little bit last time just to get the monies to the schools. That's why we wanted to put it in here so they knew the contact us rather than us trying to
One of
fire
our
them.
recipients, he was on the president's list.
Oh.
Yes, he's really excited, so that really, yeah.
Any other questions?
Thanks, Ben. All right, item 6 is the Tech Connect government agreement. Laura? You kind of fill us in on what this is, and I think you have someone if you have questions.
Tim's going to be bringing Kent in just a moment. Well, we're having more and more requests, and we've been seeing this sometimes like that. I began looking at about 2015 for a way to do business licenses online. It really became very apparent during COVID, where we were having to do some really stopgap measures. Part of the problem that we've had with finding something, however, is that you've got about 56 different licenses in the city of Jacksonville alone. And that's probably different types of businesses. And each one of those has a unique setup. I mean, every one of them has to have a schedule. Every one of them has to have a demographics page. And then the schedule tells us, based on the information that the business owners give us, how much is the business license going to cost. Well, that's part of your problem when you're doing online, is that you've got to have all that information. So what we've found over the time period that we've been looking is your basic out-of-the-box software, built for a utility company. You're telling the customer how much to pay. They're paid. Well, this is in a way the customer has to tell us what is going to be due. Additionally, you've got problems with occasional, depending upon what trade it is, you may have to have a particular type of state license in order for us to issue. So you can't just automatically issue a license unless you know that all the necessary paperwork is there. So all of these elements are how we've been trying to find a business that will take care of all this. That brings us to Kent, who I'm going to tell you a little bit more about his software. This software is going to be customizable for our needs. It's also going to handle permitting, not just business license. There are additional modules that you're probably going to see when Kent shows his presentation a little bit. He's not going to go through the whole presentation, but he is going to kind of give you a little bit of highlights of what's there and what's available, as well as what it kind of looks like, to give you a better idea. Because I'm sure he can tell you a lot more about what his product does than I'm able to tell you about what the product does. How will it change us? Probably not as much on our side, but it's not about our side. It's about taking care of the business owners that want a way to handle this business online and not have to come into the office or put it in the post office and all it that way. And they want to pay by credit card, all of which his stuff does. So, Kent, whenever you're ready.
Hey guys, I hope everyone can hear me. My name is Kent McCoy. I'm from Russellville, Arkansas, so not too far away from you guys. I run a company called the Redpoint Group, and one of our softwares that Ms. Laura has been talking about is our Tech Connect City software. And so I just want to give you a quick introduction of who we are. We have built software for many years, and specifically custom software for all kinds of industries. And so we just realized there was a need for a little bit of what Ms. Laura was describing, that is software that is not just out of the box or a word that's white labels what it says, but cities have unique needs. And so we've taken our experience in the business industry from repair and maintenance systems to asset management to full operational management systems for heavy construction down to a single sales guy. And we've tried to incorporate some of that into the city software. So to show off of that, I would say that what we're offering is not unique in and of itself, that we're first to the market and doing this kind of software, but I think where we are a little bit unique is what I told them is that we're kind of the blue collar of the world of software, and that we want to design something that is easy to use for both the city and the citizen, but also it's customizable, and that's where we do a lot of that work. And I was telling Tim, the other day that it's also no additional work for necessarily the IT department because we handle all the support. And so I'll just go through a couple of things like Laura said, and then from that I'll let you guys ask any questions you may have. But can you see let me share my screen with you so you can see some of the stuff. Can you see my screen where it says Tech Connect Gov?
There it is, yes.
Okay. So what this is our screen that we built for your city. So this particular one, it's a demo version, and so it says Tech Connect Gov public portal. But basically what we would do is we would ask the city to add just a button on their home screen that says, click here for online permits, or you can call it whatever you want. And then from that, it'll go to a page that we built for you. So at this point, the screen that you're looking at, it's a screen that we built. It's not something you guys have to do. And you can put a picture on the background. We'll have your city logo and stuff. And so, all purposes, will really feel like your city website. And we'll even have your header up here so people can navigate back if they need to. And so this is a public portal that is easy to access, and also one that's very clear for most users to use. We do require a login. You can see up here I am logged in. That's just to make sure the data you get is clean data. So at this point, we have a number of things listed here, Parks and Rec, which you guys at the moment are interested in, but then business license, permits, inspection, so on and so forth. And so our system is database driven. So what that means is it's not a PDF form where someone has to necessarily key it into the system. We automatically key it into, or the user keys it into a form, and that goes into a database, and that really helps for reporting purposes. And so I'll just kind of show you how it operates, and then allow you guys to, ask questions if you have further questions. But at this point, I've clicked on permits, building permits, inspections, and so me as a contractor, me as a homeowner, this is where what the permits that your city offers would be listed. So maybe you have a burn permit, building permits, so on and so forth. This is where the user would see that. And so for a user, if you click on building permit, and at this point you'll see a form that pops up. And on that form, you can see there's fields in here that capture data. And so this is pretty generic because it is our demo version. But you can see we can put a project name, owner, so on and so forth, construction site information, the property type, the construction category, state. And all these fields are stuff that was more was fun about the customizability of it, is that once we understand what your permits look like and what you need, we'll change these fields to fit your city specifically. So again, if you see someone here that you say our city needs this, or we don't need construction site address, which I know that wouldn't be one necessarily, then we'll change that for you. So the user would go through here in their contractor information. This is really good because you can get a contractor database and see who they are in your city. We already talked to Ms. Laura, for instance, about this would be a place that if it is a contractor that needs to upload his license, we can make this a required field. We can add an attachment at this place, and they can attach their contractor license here. Also under attachments, they can load whatever they need to, which is, maybe it's site plans, maybe it's pictures, maybe it's whatever. They can do this at this point. And all this is being saved to this record in the database for this particular permit. And eventually you get to the agreement. This is not filled out, obviously. It should have your city logo, it have their application. They can accept terms that you guys specify, and then they can sign. It's on a tablet or a phone. They can sign with your finger, and you can do it with a mouse, whatever. And ultimately, you want to submit that for review. And so that's the high-level form completion. But the other thing we have on that is they can view existing permits and applications. So where we found this is really good is that in customer service specifically, and I reference like the Domino's app, if you've ever ordered pizza and it says your order's in place and it's in the oven or it's in the kitchen or it's going to be ready soon or something. At the end of the day, I kind of joke that we don't really know if the Domino's is making your actual pizza, but it feels really good to think they are. And so here what this is for the user is they can see a status of what's going on with their particular permit. And so they can click on this one, they see it's submitted, it's under review, they may need payment, they have inspections they can request, and then eventually get a CRO issued. And so what's a little bit unique on this also is this is one that's been completed. As you can double click on it, you can see that it's been approved here. You can also see that you have your approval date. And then, what everyone really hopes for at the end of the day is that they can get a CRO. And so they can click on this and we would tailor this to your city. And so if I had a building permit that I submitted and eventually got a certificate of occupancy, and you can see the user could print this out, they can email it to someone if they need to. And again, this form would look like what your city is. And so technically someone could, very easily, I guess, depending on the complexity of the building, they can apply, pay, request inspections, and eventually get a CRO without ever having to go to the city office or city hall. And so just like you see on building permitting, one of the things that Ms. Laura has been most excited about is the business licensing. So I'm going to jump back over to this screen and show you that business licensing really functions exactly the same. And so as a single user login, under my user, I can go to anything the city offers without having to create a different login. I can use that to access whatever the city has. So I can apply for my business license. And you can see here that if this was a new building of a commercial building, for instance, in your city, they could complete their building permit, get their trade permits, and go on to applying a business license. And you'll notice that the forms are very consistent and the same as what they had before. So the user that has already used it once, they will be able to know how to navigate. And so, again, they'll go through the fields that are needed for your city, customizable to your city, and then eventually they'll get to their agreement and signature page, which again looks very similar to the one you just saw, so this is for business license. And then they can accept terms and conditions, and they can sign for that and send it to the city for review. And so, Ms. Laura is correct. All these things for your city would be set up for your city. I know that in our conversations we had, there's some unique requirements on your business licenses, whether it's gross sales based on the ordinances and other stuff, and we do incorporate that into our customization for you, and it will calculate the invoice amount. It'll at least give an idea of what the invoice amount is, of course, with the city approval. And so that's all part of making sure we get the right data at this point on the business license completion. So from a user perspective, we tried to make this very easy. Most people, it seems probably have a smartphone, or they, at a minimum, maybe booked a hotel or airline or plane ticket or something online, and so that's what we try to do with our forms. Just make them easy to walk through, and you can see that the required fields have a star, and it'll tell you if you messed up and go through there. So that's a high level from the really the citizen or contractor perspective. And then the other side of that is the municipal portal. So is there any quick questions on just that side of the form completion side before I jump over to the city side? And Ms. Laura, is there something you want me to address that I haven't?
I'm good. I think you've pretty much hit all the highlights that we had with regard to that. There's no point in getting too deep down into the weeds of how we do what we do.
Yeah, I definitely don't want to necessarily go through a full demo with you guys, but on the municipal side, we've also made it easy for your city employees to see what needs to be addressed, and also to complete the process as needed. So the things that need addressed are in red. The stuff that has been touched or reviewed or whatever, and you see that red is not there. And so I'm going to make this a little bit bigger, so maybe you can feel it more a little bit easier. So over here, there's action buttons for the city, so you can view the summary. So this is one I did the other day, or one of my team did the other day, and you can see it's been submitted. So the city official can see the information they need to, they signed it. And again, they can email someone if needed from this screen. They can also go and review the application. So when you click review, You can see the stuff that the citizen or contractor, whoever be, completed. These are grayed out, and the reason we did that is on purpose so that somebody that submitted something, let's say the city changed it, and then the city has specific stuff that they need to do. So if they need to, under the administration tab, for instance, this is a building permit, they can go in here and do the construction type, the classification, property zone, and this estimated construction cost is where we take your ordinance and how you calculate your fees or your estimated construction, and that's where that number will come in. So again, the administration side, this is tailored to your city. We put in some generic stuff, but I know your city will have some changes. Eventually, you want to get to the review side. It gives you are you sure you want to review this? Yes. And then you can approve or reject based on the information you've inputted. Also on the city side, we have something called, we call the workbench. So if I double click on this, you can see the project details on the building permit, for instance. So as they request inspections, as there's invoices, the history of what's going on is here. That makes it easy. Attachments also makes it easy just to see really the full picture of the building permit, including trade permits that are part of it and then inspections that are related to it. And then you see at top you have these radio buttons. The red means I need to do something. The green means I've started the process basically, and you kind of work through the process that way. And so this consistent workbench is also on the business license side. So when I click on business license application, you see it's all very similar and consistent from module to module, I guess is how we would say that. So we just try to make it easy for all users to navigate it, to work through what they need to for review, to inspections, to invoicing. And there's also a lot of reporting on this. And we'll also add additional reports for your city because we know that your city is not like every other city, and there's part of reports you want. And within the agreement, there's, I think, up to 10 reports that we'll create for you guys as part of the customization process. So any questions or more you would like to see? We do also other things. We have asset management. We do code enforcement. So if you guys at any time decide you want to add modules, we can do that easily within this application because you already have, if you move forward, you already have the engine, which is kind of what you're looking at here on the citizen and city side. So if you decide you want to add asset management with work orders, or you want to add parks and rec for reserving public places, or you want to add code enforcement, we can add that. And the nominal fee is really pretty inexpensive after you buy the initial software compared to the the first time kind of going on board with us. So it makes it easy to add to it if you choose to in the future.
What's the cost? I mean, what's the base cost and what is each add-on as far as what we want?
Yes, sir. So the contract or the agreement that we have for you guys is there's a customization fee, and that does take care of the, I think I heard this before, which is not being the first time I've heard this number, but 56 licenses. So it takes into consideration getting all those set up as well as helping you guys with the training and the creation of that page or social in the public portal. We have that at $7,300 one-time fee, and then currently the license fee is $7,100 a year. But again, all the modules are different. So for instance, the building permitting is basically once you buy the base application, it's $100 a month. Or thereabouts, the business licensing is $75 if you decide to add asset management, which I was telling them on Ms. Laura, our last conversation, that we have a lot of customers in the construction industry or heavy construction that are managing lots of pieces of equipment and doing repair orders. We charge them about $700 a month. So if you guys add that on here, it's only $100 because, again, you've already paid for the base application. So you get a pretty robust asset management system for a very nominal fee compared to if I was just selling it to the industry. So each one's different. We offer, if you buy everything we get, we don't want to see you go over about $12,000 a year in a license fee. And the reason we've kind of set that number is if we go much higher, we feel that with just like many other applications that prices people out of the market, and we're trying not to do that. We're trying to provide cities just what they need and not have, add some bells and whistles, but not do so much to where, it becomes, not affordable.
Well, is there a way we can get, I don't know, Laura may have probably, can we not get a spreadsheet of what the base is, what the year fee would be in each, and have it where we can look at it instead of, can we not achieve that? And also look at, is this going to take more manpower to do? Are you going to save manpower? Are we going to have another person? How does that do with the accounting end of it as far as people paying with the credit card? And is that going to kick the money into the accounts? Or are you going to have to manually move it?
Well, we already have to manually do it.
Okay.
So for the most part, that probably would not change. We're still going to have to do some of that aspect of it. They would be able to use their credit card just like they already do. The difference being instead of all of it coming in and us having to email them a credit card authorization, get that back, call them, have them give us their credit card information over the phone because we don't want it through email. And yes, we have had people email us their credit card information through email. Then we have to type that all in, and we still have to put it into the system, and then we still have to email it all back. And this is every time somebody wants to pay online, which is what we mean by being inefficient. In this case, Lee's working. Amy gets an email notification that we've got one out there. She can go ahead and take care of that because now she doesn't have somebody in the office. Because right now they're sharing an office, and they can only wait on one person at a time, or you're violating the taxpayer bill of rights. So we're trying to find ways that will make it more efficient for them as well as for us. And so, yes, it will help in that aspect. Will I need another person to do it? No. I mean, we're already got needs in that area, and I'm hoping that some of this will take some of that off. That would be my hope. One thing it will do is allow us to take in maybe some of that information that Mark Williams is getting. Go ahead and enter in the information. He's out in the field. He can pull it up or add a picture of an inspection that he's doing and not necessarily have to be in the office to handle what he has to handle. So it may help us from that standpoint. And whoever may be in the next role in that area.
That's something they can use out, like on a tablet. We put that information in.
Tablet, email, by phone. I think you told me that they could use their phone, a tablet. When I talked to some of the reps, that was one of the things that they said that they saw. One of our references that was a city in Arkansas said that that's one of the biggest things that they saw was a change for their building inspectors was the ability to be able to snap a picture of this electrical box and show them why they failed their inspection almost immediately from that without having to go back to the office and upload it.
And that'd be up to the customer to keep abreast of how that process is moving.
Correct. And they have the ability to do that. And additionally, one of the other things, and this may help, now it can't necessarily help right away because quite frankly, code has not caught up with electric, with the technology at this moment in time. We still have to mail out business license renewals. But the system, if they've signed up for it, can send them an email and remind them it's time to renew your license. Which means they no longer have to wait on the mail. They no longer have to fill out their paperwork necessarily by hand, put it in the mail, put a stamp on it, and send it to us. So it might get the revenue in a little bit faster.
And once they log on, I'm assuming most of that information will autofill.
All of the stuff stays the same. Once they put it in there the first time, it'll probably pull up and it'll say, will you confirm this? Make sure that their information changed. So, because I can't tell you the number of pieces of mail we have come back because they didn't tell us that they've changed their address, mailing address. Not even physical, because obviously they're still brick and mortar. They're still sitting there, but they've changed their mailing address. Maybe they've changed their P.O. box. Maybe they've moved themselves and they were having it sent to their homes instead of to their offices. So, those are the kind of things that we encounter all the time that this is going to take us a little bit on the way as well.
I just like to see a breakdown. I don't know about y'all, I mean.
Well, the business licensing permitting from the contract that's what that would be. If we didn't buy any other modules, that's what it would be on an annual basis for the maintenance cost.
Well, $1,000.
It was just for permitting.
That's the max.
The max
With
so you've got two different price tags when you're looking at the contract. One for $79, I think that's the building, and the other one I believe was $71.
71. 73 and 70.
Yeah.
So the 7,100 includes building permitting and inspections and the business licensing, and that's a license fee per year. And then the 7,300 is a one-time fee for the customization of getting the software set up to your city specifications. And I wasn't sure exactly asking the question, but on the one of manpower and stuff, I can tell you that, the city that Ms. Laura was talking about has 3,200 people, which is a small city, and they have not had to add anybody else to their payroll to manage the system. If anything, it's allowed their building inspector who had, wears a lot of hats, gets out of the office and not doing paperwork, but he actually can do good inspections and he can go out and check on those things. And that's made it significantly easier for them. And then also on the credit card payments, the one thing that was asked is we use Stripe. That's a large credit card processor. We don't store any credit card data, but you guys basically sign up as and we help you do this. You sign up under us, and those funds would go straight to your bank account if somebody uses a credit card. So it's not something where I have to manually write a check to you guys. And if you have a credit card processor you're already using, we would even use your credit card processor in our system, and then we can be taken completely out of the mix. But we don't. You guys don't get charged any extra related to the credit card payments. So you just select the funds you need to, it goes to your bank account, and it's not a charge to you guys or a fee.
What's the response time if something goes crazy? Laura calls you and they need something straightened out. What's the response time?
Yeah, good question. Ms. Laura, I know followed up with some of our customers and references, and I would say we try to handle all the requests that come to us within a couple hours, and definitely within the day. And I think our track record shows that we do that for all customers that we have. I mean, I'm not going to lie. I mean, there are times where a problem is larger than maybe can be addressed immediately, especially if it's a change that the city needs. But one of the things we try to pride ourselves on is the customer service, and I think we've done a pretty good job of that in handling it.
All right, so if we're doing this right now, we're talking about two departments, basically.
Correct.
Permitting
and business licensing.
Has Mark looked at this at all?
He did. We had him sit down and look at it some on Friday when Tim and I were going through and getting ready for this.
When he looked at it, I heard more about permitting and inspection than I did on business license, and I don't see Mark. So I don't know what did he think about it, or is this?
Mark's only thing was, so are we changing softwares? And no, we're not changing software. He'll still be using the exact same thing he has before when he's in the office. The only difference is a little bit of something different if he uses it outside of the office. And Mark is never real crazy about change, but he did not see much of a problem with this. I think it was a lot more user-friendly than he would think it was.
What other? I think the UX we just did our business license. The UX looks fantastic, and I think that's probably what people are accustomed to. What is the plan for communicating on either permits and inspections or on business licenses to the user of this new, should this come to be, because it might not just be one person who's reluctant or who's not a fan of change, it might be a lot of individuals. So if this is the only option, and you've got a builder who is trying to submit a permit, who is going to be there to answer their questions? Is that on TechConnect.gov, or is it also there?
We're still going to, we know how, we're going to be able to see this. This is not like the Department of Revenue's sales tax, where we don't know what it looks like on the other side. We know what it looks like. We can walk you through. It's going to be the same. It's going to be built based on the same documents that they write the information in. We'll take the exact same document that was designed by Mark and put it all into the system in the same way to where they're answering the same questions that they've always answered. And next time they come in, they won't have to answer those same initial questions again. This time it'll be, well, it's this place, or this place, or this place. The dollar figures may not even change. And as far as communicating it goes, I've actually already talked a little bit to Ben with regard to that. We would be pushing out more information with regard to, hey, this is coming. Be aware. This is how it works. This is the information. So just like with growing pains on anything, you're going to have the growing pains.
This being software as a service, the data is going to reside with TechConnect. Correct. But it's our data.
It is our data and will remain our data.
Okay. So when
we stop.
So in the agreement, that is city data. Mm-hmm. So it is subject to freedom of information. So is that process such that those 10 reports that are delivered, I don't know how many fields we're talking about here, but I know Tim's built a couple of reports before. I'm guessing it's a relational database, but is this something that if somebody needed information that we could, because we don't have the data, but through a freedom of information request, we then need to go to them to get that data, but it was not one of the 10 delivered reports. Now we're paying for a report to get our data that lives on their server?
Yes and no.
Yeah, so,
go ahead.
One of the things that we also have on here, and one of our customers also just raised it a little bit differently, but said the question that's being asked. And so one of the things that we can do, subject to you guys wanting to, is on this, you have this public record search. So whenever you guys decide that you want to make it available, it really just depends on how easy you want to make it available. But, you could theoretically use this to put every permit that's been approved or even submitted or in review right here, and someone can search for it this way if you choose to. But you are correct. We don't own the data. It is in the East and West Coast with Amazon Web Services, and we did briefly talk to Tim about making sure you guys have a copy offline, and when you guys want to remove history and stuff, make sure that is easy. But this is one way you can do that, and/or you're always welcome to call us. We won't charge you to get your data. So that wouldn't be an issue.
And of course, when you're talking about business license, not all business license information is public record.
Correct.
So, not everything can be available out there. They would really be most likely have to reach out to us to get anything with relationship to that from a public record standpoint.
Where does the money come from?
Yeah, is there an additional cost? Would any additional cost be passed on to the entities or the individuals applying?
No, it would still be the same. The state code allows for the issuance fee, and that is the maximum we can pay for that. Now, obviously, using their credit card, they're going to get charged by the credit card company, but they already do when they use the card.
And Stripe is the payment gateway?
We would use ours. Probably would not use Stripe. We would most likely use the one that we already use, which I believe is Titan. Something of that nature. It's local, so I have it.
Well, have you looked at their list of where they have this? Do they have anybody
in Alabama? No. But
anybody close around anywhere?
Most everything that they had, most of the references that they gave us were Arkansas.
We don't have this on the agenda tonight. I might suggest maybe we sit down with Mark too, me and Mark and Lord and Laura and maybe Bert, and talk about this a little bit and have something for next time.
I wouldn't mind. I don't want to muddy up the water, but I wouldn't mind looking at the PART aspect of this, code enforcement or fire marshal. How ways they could tweak the system to help everyone get everyone under a single umbrella.
Yeah, if this is something to replace systems or reduce redundancies, I think that's the time. But if Parks and Rec says, did they say they're not interested in it? Or
it's not been offered.
They're not. It's a customizable software and a service, and this was what we were looking to do. The thing is, we're at 14 right now. You're looking at having to get very higher. Now, once we have the package, if you choose to add at that point, it is a customizable software, and you're adding on to a already customized software, so there's all the time.
Maybe at one point we need to get the basis, make sure it works for everyone, and then add as we go on. I think we need to expand it at some point in time, and then, but I think we got to learn to walk on this before we go too far.
That was pretty much all. We love some of the other modules that we've seen. I've heard great things. Even some of the ones I talked about the Parks and Recreation, they were adding that one in. And I think you even mentioned the animal control one, but animal control is a unique thing. So there is one, but it's not a huge module, and probably one of the least expensive to offer, if I recall correctly.
Yeah.
But,
I would just interject. I would encourage you to do what you just said, which is, get a few modules. One, to try to do everything at once would be a headache for a lot of people involved, not just the city. So I think it would be good to get a couple going, and then it makes it much easier. Even though I'd love to tell you the whole thing, I think that's what I would tell you the business customer. It's really hard to take every department of any business and change everything at once. And so I think that would be a good thing. And I would even be willing to, make sure some pricing's locked in if you need to, if you add another module, make sure you're not going to come back later and be like, I don't want to have I got you, because I hate that when that happens to me, and I don't like to get to customers either. So.
And when you're really talking about as far as complications of building, you're probably looking at the two most complicated of the departments right here: your business license and your permitting. Code enforcement would, of course, patch right on into permitting. It's easily enough as far as that goes. It's just kind of an expansion of that. Parks and Recreation, you're talking about, they currently have something, but again, the ability to do facilities and the asset management, which every time Kent mentions asset management, I immediately go to managing other capital assets. Well, what he's really talking about is the maintenance on vehicles. So that sort of stuff.
Since we're going to be the first one in Alabama, shouldn't we get a discount?
I mean, if you didn't look at a discount, I'm already trying to give you. I'm helping.
And actually, it's kind of ironic that you mentioned other cities. I was talking with Rainbow City today. Their mayor is very in favor of getting online business license as well, and things. They are having the same problem that I've had for years, which is finding something. And when I was telling her about it, she may very well be watching the YouTube right now, because I told her that we were talking about this tonight, and if she wanted to pop in and take a good look at it. And I've also given her Kent's information. But the same basic problems that I've had for years trying to find something that would work for Alabama, because when you're talking about other states are a little bit directly the opposite of us. Their permitting is more cumbersome and more complicated than their licensing. A lot of times their licensing is very flat fee, whereas ours is very structured, and their permitting is blah blah. You're all very a la carte.
Well, do we? I know this is old timey stuff, but do we keep a paper trail on this, like if the computer blew up or something?
Yes, sir.
You don't have a paper trail.
We do. We're required to hold on to the licensing paperwork that is turned into us for 2 years following the audit. After that time, the only thing I have to maintain is a list of businesses.
So it is not on the agenda for tonight. But that gives us a couple weeks to look at this and meet. And if you have any questions, make sure you get Laura that if anything arises, if you think about it in the next day or so, and we put it on the agenda for next time.
Yes.
And I think it's anything to help businesses do that part is tremendous.
Well, and when I mentioned it first to Ben, that was one of the things that Ben said. He said it's a question that he gets on a fairly regular basis through it. They're begging for it, and they've been begging for it for a while.
I still back to one basic thing. Where's the money coming from? Is it her budget, or Bert's going to have to wave the magic wand to come up with the numbers that she's got over there? Or, I mean,
we have looked at ARPA. It is eligible for ARPA.
Okay.
At this point, based on some of the current actual figures versus some of the estimated figures, ARPA could take care of paying at the very least the first portion of that. The other part of it could very well come from ARPA, depending again on how everything plays out. But if not, it could be done part of the capital projects. So yes, the funds are, while not budgeted for this year, the money's there.
Right.
I will also, just help, or I don't know if I'll help out, I'll give a little more explanation. So the one thing, or the two things as part of the agreement, one is customization, and one is the license fee. You don't have to pay for any license until it goes live. And so the reality is whenever your city decides to go with the software, which is hopefully ours, you won't pay for the license until you actually start using it. So there could be 3 to 5 months, depending on how much customization you have to do, before your system's even ready to go. And at that point is when your license would kick in and would be prorated, of course, based on whatever month that was. So, you're not talking about an expenditure on a license fee that happens the moment you sign an agreement. The customization side obviously would be a little bit sooner. So, that's something you don't have to necessarily, expect today. But it does take a while to do the customization. So, that's something where if you do decide to do it, we want to get the ball rolling just because it'll take a little bit to get it set up for you.
I'm good. Anything else? All good? I'm good.
Thank you. Thank you both.
Thank you all for your time.
All right. Any other business come before the council?
Janice was going to be here tonight, but I think she was afraid to come again, so I'll take her place. Just to make you aware, we do have a leak in the community center. It's getting pretty bad. It's in the area where the exercise equipment is. So we don't have much choice but to do something. We do have a roofer coming tomorrow. We'll have more information, but she's kind of thinks it might be kind of a big deal. So just to make you aware that it's coming.
Is that a flat roof?
Yeah, that part where we're talking about having that roof is flat roof.
There might be another guy in town that can look at it.
Yeah.
He'll be here.
Well, it certainly won't hurt to have 2 different people looking at it and get different ideas. Send him by.
HVAC for that same building.
Yeah, I don't know where we are with that.
Even on the other
side.
Okay.
Yeah, this is on the opposite side from where that is. Yeah. We also have Bill Whitaker here. Wants to talk to us. That's all I had.
Yeah, I had Bill also. If you want to step up, Bill? I think he has an update for us and some things that we may want to look at coming up as far as furnishings.
All right. So this is a status update. So where we're at with the construction of City Hall, quarter slab, you've seen that. You should start seeing construction starting tomorrow. They've got the metal studs laid on the slab. From the original schedule, we are 1 month behind. However, they issued us a recovery schedule last Thursday, so we're still tracking to finish as previously expected, which is roughly January 2024. So contractors making adjustments as well because of weather and cold and all that. So it's going real well. So I think one of the main reasons I was asked to be here is what we call FF&E, fixtures, furnishing, and equipment. Okay, that's not a basic service that is always included. Most owners don't ask us to do that, but we have that service available, and that would include like the chairs you're sitting in, flags in here, trash cans, tables. We put a budget that was on your side of the table that we would manage. You had like $250,000 is what we threw in for y'all to consider to have in your budget on the city side. So, and y'all are free to go and meet and purchase and do whatever. The service that we can offer is, we can then work with a furniture package and put together a package. We can bid that. We can include all those things. All the way down to the nameplates, things like that. So that's an additional service specifically not included in our original agreement. So I think I'm here to just, if y'all want me to do that, I'll be glad to.
What's the bottom line?
It's probably $30,000 to $40,000 design fees to work with the package, which is normally why it's not asked twice. Okay, all right, it's a lot of time, right? So, and business, there's a company in Birmingham and that we can work with. We've already contacted them. We've already sent information to them. It's Empire. It's like Business Interiors or KI, right? And so they're familiar with the state bid, all the approved furnishings and things. So the choice is, I've already made the contact and given them data. You can work with them directly, and that's fine. That's a choice that's done. Or I can, manage him and be your representative. So I'm just throwing a big fat number out there because I'm not exactly sure exactly how much y'all want me to do. I don't see that's more than that. We can do an hourly, not to exceed. I'm trying to be good stewards with the money y'all have. So I'm not trying to upsell you. I'm just offering this as a help, as a solution. I'm not trying to just get more fee here. I'm just trying to say it does take effort to do that.
Well, my thoughts are if it's not Mr. Whitaker here, it's who. We're getting our own. We need someone to direct us through this. I've only been part of designing and doing things for a small. I can imagine the full complex of trying to. You're talking office furniture and chairs and lighting and everything that we have. That it's like you're building your own home here. Now you've got to start picking out every little light switch and cover. So. Right. So if it's not him, and I appreciate you bringing that up, there are others out there, but I think to the point we need to have something or at least a plan now.
We're not talking about we're not going to pay. As far as light switches and plug covers and all that, that's already. We're talking about desk and tables and chairs.
Tables.
Mm-hmm.
Everything
Right.
not bolted down.
Every office is going to have a desk and a chair and
So for example, this chair right here has a seat rating, let's say you purchased that from, say, Lowe's, and it has a 2-hour rating to sit in it 4 days a week, and the warranty runs out in less than a year. What we're talking about is we help you select a business-rated chair that's going to last 5-6 years because it's meant to be set in 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. There's some complexity to actually picking out furniture, that I know sounds silly, but you don't want to say, well, why should I buy a $100 chair versus a $500 chair? Because in a year, that thing will be peeling and probably the hydraulics are broken, the wheels falling off, and your warranty's not good. So there's some stuff to it, right? Wall art, there's some branding. There's also Greg Mart is a good experience, good example with Southern Custom Exhibits. We've talked about putting the history of Jacksonville on the wall, trying to reclaim what was already in your previous. There's things like that that we would bring to the table. Hey, consider this in your budget. It's not just whether or not we're buying a black chair versus a white chair or green chair or whatever. So that's the level we can go to. Or we can just connect the dots to the sources and say, these are the people you probably need to use to help and find and we can make those. We don't have any problems with that. But if you want us to really dig in, it's more than just picking out a catalog out of the Office Max book, right?
Well, I agree, and I see that. But are you going to be able to save us $30,000 to $40,000 in what you do?
Well, right now you have just a round budget of $250,000.
All right, but then that's going to cost us $30,000 to $40,000 to get that $250 spent. So, what differential do we do that we stay within the $250, or are we going to go over $250, or
See, that's a moving number, right? I could be a used car salesman right now and tell you. Of course.
No offense to any used car salesman that are here tonight.
I can a hard salesman. Let me say that. Right, to be correct. I have many car salesman friends. All right, so I can easily tell you I can save that money, and there's no way for me to ever prove that to you. Okay, the bottom line is if I think I have value, and I'm asking to be paid for that value to help you save money, and I think I've demonstrated that up until this point. So that's what I can promise you is I think I can.
I don't doubt that, but I'm just saying. When you crunch the numbers,
it's not ideal that you're having a city employee who's managing some of that.
They're going to take their time to do that.
And right. And
you're going to pay for the service, or you're going to pay for doing it yourself. Sometimes you just want to pay that service fee.
I'm cheap.
Yeah, but we're also looking at a building here that I want to make sure it is done correctly or best it could be done and is first aesthetically pleasing and kind of like-mindedness through the offices and everyone has their needs met. Depending on the office, depending on the room in the office, how the office door is, what desk, there's going to be a left turn, right turn on the desk. It's different things like that you have to be aware of. And if the man here that developed the plans would know that better than.
I agree, but I'm just.
Terry's chairs are going to be blown out in 6 months. That's what he's getting at.
There's a few metal chairs. I agree, and you pay now, you pay later. But I'm just thinking of how it would work if we're paying you to work with these other people that are going to do it. I see where you can save us because of what you're doing. It's just, or,
I know it's a big issue. And I'll be glad. I mean, I've just kind of been asked, right?
Can we negotiate?
You can negotiate. I'll work with you.
All right. If you would negotiate,
and that's why I'm thinking an hourly rate, maybe not to exceed. That's fair, right? I can see I've done this in the past. And then that way you say, hey, it's not going to be more than this. And then I can work toward to that. We can do that.
I'm good with that. We can negotiate on an hourly rate.
You want to have him bring his contract to the next meeting?
I'd say yes, because he needs to go ahead and get started because it's
Supply chain stuff.
Right, there's a supply chain issue, and right now we're about to go work. So if there's any decisions once we get into the weeds, and someone says, I really want a credenza on the east wall, and I can just tell the contractor, let's switch the door swing now, and to make it work better, I need to be looking for those opportunities to make it better.
Thank you. You're making my point.
It needs to be able to last 5 to 10 years on this furniture.
So it's okay to give us a contract an hourly?
I'm good at an hourly rate.
Okay.
Cap at 500,000.
Now hopefully we still have some contingency money that we won't spend also.
Yeah, so far, and I'll update you, so far of the 400 and some thousand contingency, we've only found about $1,000 worth of bad dirt that so that's all that's been proposed to us so far. And I think it's legitimate contractors to do that, $1,000 for soil that we didn't know was there. So far it's been good.
Good so far. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill.
Thank you.
If you don't need me, then thank you.
Yes, thank you. Chief Kettle, you have something for us?
2 things I'd like to bring up. First, if you remember back there in the budget process, we talked about for the first time we may have to hire a medical control director for our EMS. Well, we're to that. We got an excellent deal, I think, in $6,000 per year from Josh Williams from Riverview. In order to be our medical control director, you have to be affiliated with an emergency department. He is affiliated with Riverview and Gadsden. But the problem that we ran into, we thought that the city's blanket or AMIC may cover him while he's functioning in his capacity as a medical director. However, we found out that AMIC specifically excludes physicians and nurses. So he'll have to get his insurance on his own, which is going to cost him $6,000 per year. So instead of our budget for a medical director being $6,000, it's now $12,000. It's a little bit cheaper the first year, but we have more work for him to do the first year, so we kept it level. Basically, what we'll get is 2 to 3 hours per month from him. He'll sign our drug license. He'll sign our EMS license. He'll be our go-to person if we have a problem with a physician in any ER, if one of our medics had a problem, and then he'll deliver us the training that we need to keep us current. So what I'm asking for is an additional $6,000 to cover the insurance policy that we wrote in his contract that he must maintain liability insurance.
How much choice? We got to have it operate.
So AMIC won't do that if he's a physician?
Yeah, they specifically exclude physicians and nurses. Don't say it.
I think we have to do that and move forward with that.
Is it on the agenda?
It is on the agenda.
I mean, we don't have choice.
That's right
Tony
here, 14.
said it's there.
Oh, we got one more.
You have something else?
Yes. The second thing I'd like to talk to you about is grant time. We're pursuing several grants. We're doing a regional grant that would include Anniston, Jacksonville, and Oxford and Piedmont to get a heavy rescue. This part of the country has no heavy rescue. We would use statistics and numbers from Oxford, Anniston, basically the county, but it would be our truck. And it's our truck we get stuck with the grant fees and the grant rider fees and the match. If that truck was $1 million, we would be looking at $100,000. It's a long shot, a very long shot that we would get that. I also want to talk about some other grants that we're pursuing. It's just Jacksonville that could total up to $1 million if we got them all. So what we would have to do is sign a contract with the grant writer. Naturally, he's going to be submitting for the grants if he wins. He wants to know that we're good for our 5% that we actually pay him. Another thing I'd like to discuss is diesel exhaust systems are the big thing right now in fire stations. Eventually, they'll be mandated. If you build a fire station now, it's already done. Our number 2 station currently has no diesel exhaust systems. And with diesel exhaust being a cause of cancer and the trucks being cranked in an enclosed area, that we would like to go for a diesel exhaust system here, even though we have one. If I can briefly explain that, the filters are boxes that hang, no hoses. The exhaust about 2 feet off the ground. The firefighter about 6 foot, with the filters about 12 feet. So it looks like to me you breathe all the exhaust fumes before it actually gets to the filtration. So the ones that we would like to go with are exhaust fans that have hoses that hang down from the ceiling and actually connect onto the exhaust pipe of the truck anytime the truck's ran. It's being pulled out when the truck goes on the call, it goes on the slide, it has a magnetic release and you go out. Problem with that, the one reason I'm coming here is the government will only allow $100,000 per station. Our estimate is about $270,000 for both stations. So our grant match would be it would be $70,000 instead of $20,000 if we could get them put in for $100,000. So I'm asking, is that something that we would be able to do? We could use fire tax for that to pay the extra fee above what the government, let's say they only pay $100,000 per station. You know, you could have one station cost $120,000 and one cost a little bit less. You know, we might could make it work out, but it's highly unlikely.
Would that be one on each bay, I guess?
Yes. Each apparatus would have one. Is the one you currently have here, could it be modified? Would that save anything with that, or would it be totally new system?
And the upkeep on the current one we have now is about $5,500 a year when we replace the filters on it. So it's got a reoccurring cost every year and a life expectancy too. So if we get this system, it's really basic. You've seen it many times. High exhaust fan, tubes, easy to work on, easy to maintain.
That's what we did at Station 3. You know my opinion on firefighter safety, so everybody else
I'm with you. I mean,
just chime in.
it's another one of those no-brainers that it's going to have to be done.
He said he would use his fire tax.
Right? You hear me say that much.
He mumbled it.
But we heard it. He did say it.
It hurt my heart when you said it.
But I mean, we're going to have to do later. Sooner or later, it's going to cost us more.
Yeah.
Well, what I'm asking, I guess, is give the mayor authorization to sign our letter where that he can, where he can.
Why not?
I don't know if that's on the agenda. Okay.
Anything else?
You got one more.
What? Is it from Keith? Oh, okay. Let's make sure Keith. I think we have one more. Tim?
We're working hard tonight. Who says that? I worry about the bottom line.
That's work harder.
I guess we're just trying to impress past council president here to show that how much harder work is now.
Come on up, Miss Sandra.
This is a new building.
This is what we have.
So, the top line circles, I'll try to be brief as I can. That's why I wanted to go ahead and come before you tonight. I spoke with Bill, I've spoken with Mark Stevens. We go ahead and decide who's going to do the cabling. And I talked with y'all briefly last meeting. This is where I come in at $65 a cable run. Pull it, terminate it, and test it. So that there's 289, possibly 296 cable runs in the building, but we would just cap it at 289 unless it exceeded 296. If it does end up being those few more, but that's where I would propose. I just listed some things there down below that as long as you maintain a contract with me for monthly service, there's things that will be going on in that building that is going to be included in your current monthly charge. You see there's two items there, the audio visual in the council room and the access control doors. Those are just guesstimates, but I would say that, and this is sort of an elephant in the room for me, just for me, but if you chose to continue my services an additional year, then those costs would go away also. But say if you said go away and then come back and do this, it's going, that's going to come in there. And so I want to go ahead and mention this up front because it's just going to be kind of awkward if I mention it later. My current contract, the term goes through end of September, and so when it comes up, I'm going to be asking for an increase. And I hope that didn't shock you too much, but I was trying to think how to make it fair and proportional to what increases that city employees have gotten. And so I'm just, the city had approved an IT manager position years ago on range 23, so my thought would be we would index it off of that, and maybe something like 75% of that salary and benefits, and then maybe 15 to 17% on the waterwork side. And that's not a great differential from what it currently is, but I just didn't want that to not be said up front, because when it comes budget time, it would seem like a nickel and dime.
Sure.
So and then these other items, the middle one, the $20,910, I think you can save money on that, but that's what I would charge if you said do the whole package and provide everything. But you're already going to save probably by being able to buy a state contract, and some of this I may have to pay state tax on, and so forth. So I think you can save a few thousand, but you got to have the actual cable, you got to have server racks, you got to have patch panels, and so forth. So you see it all listed there. And then that gets your structured cable infrastructure in the building, but nothing attached to it. You got to have network switches. That's a given. Would like to move the city to layer 3 networking versus layer 2, and we can talk about that at another time. But that's where you see that city network redesign up there at the top. So these would be layer 3 switches. What I've quoted is HP Aruba there. It doesn't list the brand name, but and a firewall, a commercial grade firewall access points. The big kicker, where you can spend as much or as you wanted to, is on the security cameras. So I put a middle of the road, $900 per camera estimate. There's 11 cameras in the plans for external. I think, ironically, the number would come out to 11 if you decided you want to cover all hallways interior. You might could do it a little bit less than 11. I don't know, but I think it would take 11 and take a little more. That would be the max. And so
just to give you, I'm quoting here that you would buy the Axis brand cameras, which is basically the same as what you approved to put on the power poles. Not those exact model cameras, but that same brand. And you're going to pay anywhere from $400 a camera to $5,000 a camera, depending on what you go. So that can be decided later. The camera server would be at a capacity to store 30 days worth of video. And the other kicker is whether you want to do the access control. We already know we want a wire for it. I strongly suggest you even want to put the access control locks in the door, even if you don't put the system in, because I'll come back later. But if you do put the system in, it's substantial cost per door to have a true access control system. Now, if you just want to put buzzers to activate the solenoid in the lock, open the door, that's a lot cheaper. But if you don't have true credentialing and access control, it's going to cost you. I'm estimating $1,500 a door. Probably a little bit less, but I wanted to estimate on the high side. And then the magic number, the last one, the question marks. What do you want in the council room? We definitely would love something that has better audio interface to streaming media than we have in this room. I think y'all are aware of the extreme difficulty we have with audio, which is designed for in-room only audio, and we've had sound solutions and other people up here, and we got no real good solution without just replacing that whole soundboard in there. But that said, it would take some thought to decide what you want. So I just threw this number out right here, but you see over in the question marks. You got a range, and so what kind of presentation stations do you want, or want to go basic? And that's pretty much it. But the circle is, we've got to make a decision on that pretty soon, because as Bill said, walls are starting to go up soon. And that's where I'm at. Any questions?
No, I don't think so.
Was that the President's Day special? If you buy 299 cable installation, you can get 7 no cost.
Well,
$296.
I said that because I shared with Lawrence and others 296 cables. But
is that Cat 6 or?
That's Cat 6, and but I miscounted the first time. So
gotcha.
But in case I did miscount, I just do that.
So we're at a point we got to make a decision tonight. We're going.
No, not I'd say by next council meeting. I just want to know whether to prepare a proposal formally. And,
yes, please.
Questions?
Anything else need to come before the council?
Well, I have one item, if I could. Community signs, you all have already approved. I do have requests from the Mill Village. Just want your approval to move forward. We know we have the hardware already. The only other cost would be something ordering the two signs.
Have the Eastwood community was really involved, and they actually came to some meetings and showed us the petition they have signed. Do we have any of that from the Mill Village community?
I have an email request. The last one that I got was the 15th of November. So I haven't had anything since November time, but I had 8 comments.
I would like to see maybe if you have a single contact person. That's just me personally, because that's kind of the way we initiated the first sign, is that if you have a contact person that can maybe bring a group in and express their wants and needs for said signage. I think that's what we originally started this process.
I think that would happen a little differently, but I will talk to the person who got it started and see if she would be willing to do that.
Right. I think that would be nice. I think I may have spoken to that person. So. All right. Anything else? Are y'all okay with that? As far as signage, I mean that's what
the idea was not that it would just be a throw up sign, but it would be community generated, supported, and requested. I love the sign, it looks good.
Okay, anything else? All right, we'll adjourn. Take 5 minutes. We'll get everything situated. We'll get started back. Thank you. One, I know you have a busy schedule, and everyone's just dressed in red. Looks so nice. So
Thank you all for your patience. We're running a little behind on the work session, so I'd like to welcome everyone here to this council meeting on this January 23rd, 2023. I'll call the meeting to order. And as you all please stand while Reverend Gary Griffin, County Ministry, gives his invocation and remain standing for the pledge of allegiance.
Bow with me, please. We are grateful, our Father, for the many blessings and privileges that we enjoy every day. And even sitting tonight, listening to all the discussions of things that our city council has to make decisions about, reminds us that we need to pray for your guidance and wisdom for these leaders that you elected. And we pray, Father, that they will make the best decisions for this city. Thank you for the time that they give, and I pray your blessings upon them. Thank you for allowing us to be gathered here for this occasion tonight, and we pray that you will continue to lead as we go forward. Amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Reverend. Roll call, please.
Mr. Taylor?
Here.
Mr. Green?
Here.
Mr. Wilson?
Here.
Ms. Lasker? Here. Mr. Galloway?
Here.
Item 5 is the adoption of the minutes. Any questions, comments concerning the adoption of the minutes? Second. Motion second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all fair say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. Item 6 is the adoption of the agenda. Do we have an addition?
You do have a couple. To the main agenda, add item 17A, consider action to authorize the mayor to sign the assistance to firefighters grant for the purchase of 2 diesel exhausts for each fire station. And then to the main agenda, delete item 12, consider action to authorize the mayor to sign the professional services agreement with TTL for semi-annual groundwater monitoring at the landfill per the attached.
All right. So I have a motion to accept the agenda as amended. Second. A motion and second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. Item 7 is a proclamation. I think that's the General Assembly statement. If you don't mind, can you please come up? You ladies are ready. We'll have council members, you can other council chair, Baxter, to read the proclamation.
Whereas Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated was founded on January 13, 1913 at Harvard University undergraduate women for the purpose of using their collective strength to promote academic excellence and to provide assistance to persons in need. Whereas Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated is a nonprofit organization whose purpose is to provide services and programs to promote human welfare. And whereas their 5-point program includes economic development, educational development, international awareness and involvement, physical and mental health, and political awareness and involvement. And whereas the theme of this year is unifying our communities and sisterhood through dedication, service, and fortitude. Now, therefore, I, Johnny L. Smith, Mayor of the City of Jacksonville, and on behalf of the City Council, do hereby recognize the Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated for their excellent organization and accomplishments, and welcome Beverly Evans Smith, 26th National President of the Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, as the keynote speaker for the Founders Day celebration scheduled for Saturday, January the 28th, 2023 at 12 o'clock p.m. at the Jacksonville State Leon Cole Auditorium. Signed this day, the 23rd day of January 2023. I would just like to say that Delta Sigma Theta is a national women's
sorority, and we have just a few members here to represent us, but we will be having our 110th anniversary here in Jacksonville, Alabama, at the Jacksonville State University. Leon Cole, and our 25th national president will be our speaker. So we just thank the mayor and the council for this proclamation, and Councilor Lester for reading it to us. Thank you very much. Thank you. You want to come up here and give me the presentation?
She's not in red.
I know.
All right, get ready. Take a couple. 3, 2, 1. I'll try one flash just to hedge my bets. 3, 2, 1. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll be leaving. Okay, thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you for everything. Item 8 is public comments concerning any agenda items. If you'd like to discuss anything that's on the agenda tonight, that's adopted, feel free to come up and say your name, address, and make sure you give it to the city clerk before you leave.
My name is Marita Watson. I'm president of the Jacksonville City School Board, 1008 Magnolia Lane Northeast. I just wanted to express thanks and appreciation again to the council, to the mayor, for reestablishing the scholarships which are made available to seniors, not just at Jacksonville High School, but seniors in the city limits of Jacksonville. So I want to express thanks for that support and for providing those scholarships. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Item 9.
Public hearing on Monday, January 23rd, 2023, regarding the retail on-premise and lounge liquor license application of Yamato, Alabama Incorporated, Stanley Tone, doing business as Yamato Steakhouse, located at 105 Mountain Street Northwest, Jacksonville, Alabama.
Right, call the public meeting open. Anyone would like to have questions, comments concerning it, please go to the podium now.
My name is Stanley Tong. I work at the Yamato Steakhouse, and I'm just asking to get the on-premises liquor license. We do have the wine and beer right now. I just feel like, with the Japanese cuisine, you just don't want, just have options just like Bud Light to the menu. So I like to add liquor to the on-premises.
All right, thank you. Thank you. Make sure you give us what you see. Would anyone else like to come to the Church Council during this public hearing? Then we come forward, close the public hearing, and move on to item 10.
Consider action to approve the retail on-premise and lounge liquor license application of Yamato's Alabama Incorporated, Stanley Tone, doing business as Yamato Steakhouse, located at 105 Mountain Street Northwest, Jacksonville, Alabama.
So moved. Second. Have a motion second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. Item 11.
Consider action to accept the bid report for bid number 23-04, purchase and delivery of ADA mobile restroom trailers, and approve resolution number R-2163-23, awarding bid number 23-04 to J&B Lux Labs.
Second. Have a motion second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. Item 12 has been deleted, so we'll go to item 13.
Consider action to authorize the mayor to sign the 2023 grant agreement with East Alabama Regional Planning and Development Commission, Area Agency on Aging, per the attached.
So moved. Second. Have a motion second, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. Item 14.
Consider action to authorize the mayor to sign the agreement with Dr. Joshua Williams to serve as medical director for the fire department per the attached.
So moved. Second. Have a motion and second, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. Item 15.
Consider action to authorize the chief of police to sign the memorandum of understanding with the Federal Bureau of Investigation, North Alabama Safe Street Task Force, per the attached.
So moved.
Have a motion and second, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. Item 16.
Consider action to authorize the chief of police to sign the cost reimbursement agreement with the Federal Bureau of Investigation's North Alabama Safe Streets Task Force, per the attached.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and second, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. Item 17.
Consider action to approve JPWP number 23-113, Community Center HVAC installation phase 1, per the attached.
So moved. Second. Have a motion and second, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. Item 17A.
Consider action to authorize the mayor to sign the assistance to firefighter grant for the purchase of 2 diesel exhausts for each fire station.
So moved. Second.
Have a motion and second, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. Item 18.
Consider action to approve the revised City of Jacksonville scholarship guidelines for high school students, per the attached.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and second, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. Item 19.
Consider action to approve the employment of the following: Brianna Finley, part-time laborer in car, effective January 25th, 2023, due to the reassignment of J. Taj Mars.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and second, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. Item 20.
Consider action to accept the resignation of the following: Houston Conger, part-time firefighter, EMT, effective January 9th, 2023.
So moved.
I have a motion and second, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. Item 21.
Consider action to accept the retirement notification of the following: Easton Parker, laborer in street department, effective March 1, 2023.
So moved.
Second. Have a motion and second, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. Consent agenda.
Item 22, records disposal. Item 23, boards, committees.
So moved. Second.
I'm sorry. Item 24 is public comment on any general terms. Anything you.
Oh,
I'm sorry. I got distracted. Sorry. That motion in a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. Now we'll move to 24. Item 24 is public comments for any general item. Anything you'd like to discuss with the council, come to the podium, please state your name and address. This is your time to listen. Seeing no one come forward, we'll move on to the council remarks.
Since it is the month of January, I do want to say a special thank you to Board of Education President, Ms. Watson. Thank you very much for what you do, and for Board Vice President, Mr. Gossett, and the remaining board members, Ms. Hall, Ms. Morrison, Mr. Kennedy. Thank you all for leading the schools. January is National Board Member Recognition Month. I might have that correct there. And so I might only be one council member, but I probably speak on behalf of all these, and one former Board of Education member up here. Thank y'all very much, and we appreciate what you do, and it's a joy to be able to offer scholarships to the students here in Jacksonville. Thank you.
We're having, the city of Jacksonville will be having a Black History Month program on February the 19th at 2 o'clock, and we invite each and every one to come out and celebrate this. Thank you.
Mayor's report.
Thank you very much. I'm just happy to report that we had a good meeting tonight. Thank everybody for being here.
Any other business that comes before the council?
Consider action to adjourn into the executive session under provisions of the Code of Alabama, Section 36-25A-786, to discuss considerations for the purchase, sale, or lease of real property, and Section 36-25A-787, to discuss preliminary negotiations involving matters of trade or commerce regarding economic development.
The motion second, any discussion? Just so you're aware, we'll be adjourning. We will not be coming back after the executive session. So everyone have a good night. Roll call, please.
Mr. Taylor?
Yes.
Mr. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Mrs. Lasker? Yes. Mr. Galloway?
Well, again, thank you all. Be safe.